December 15th, 1900. A routine check on a small lighthouse perched on a desolate island off the coast of Scotland. 3 men, entrusted with the safety of the ships navigating the wild waters of the North Sea, vanish without a trace. The door to the lighthouse is locked, the light left unlit, and the sea remains eerily calm. But how can 3 strong men just disappear? Were they victims of nature's fury? Or something much darker? Something unnatural? This is the chilling mystery of the Flannan Isles lighthouse keepers, a story that has baffled investigators for over a century. The Flannan Isles are a small group of islands located far off the coast of Scotland, standing stark and isolated in the North Sea. The lighthouse was built in 1899, and it became a crucial beacon for ships navigating these treacherous waters. Manned by 3 lighthouse keepers, it was their job to ensure the light never went out, guiding sailors through storms and darkness. These men were experienced. They had weathered many storms. But December of 1900, that's when the unthinkable happened. James Ducat, the head keeper, Thomas Marshall, the second keeper, and William MacArthur, the third keeper, had been stationed on the island for several weeks. It was a solitary and often grueling job, but the keepers knew the risks and accepted them. Life was simple but dangerous. They were cut off from the world, dependent on the occasional supply ship and the mainland for contact. Yet, they never imagined that their routine would be interrupted by something they could never have foreseen. On December 26th, the relief ship, Hesperus, arrived to bring supplies and take over the lighthouse duties. But when the ship's crew arrived at the lighthouse, they found something that chilled them to the bone. The lighthouse was silent. The light was out. A heavy storm had passed, but the calm waters that greeted the ship raised no immediate alarms. However, the moment the crew approached the lighthouse, they knew something was wrong. The door to the lighthouse was locked from the inside, and the men were nowhere to be found. The rooms were undisturbed, with nothing out of place except for one thing. The light had been extinguished. The fire in the hearth was dying, and there were signs that the men had left in a hurry. Their coats were missing, but their personal belongings remained untouched. There was no sign of struggle, no sign of a struggle at all. They had simply vanished. As the crew searched the island, they found no trace of the keepers, no footprints in the sand, no sign of a struggle on the cliffs. Nothing. It was as though they had just disappeared into thin air. The crew scoured the island and the surrounding sea, but it was as if the men had never existed. At first, the possibility of an accident was considered. Perhaps they had been caught outside during the storm. A rogue wave, a sudden squall, something had taken them. But there were no signs of struggle near the water, no torn clothing or footprints leading toward the sea. In fact, the water had been unnaturally calm for days leading up to their disappearance. The investigation continued. Weeks turned into months, but no one could find an explanation. No body, no evidence of foul play, no explanation at all. It was as if the island had swallowed them whole, leaving nothing behind. Over time, the theories grew darker. One theory suggested that the men had been lost to a shipwreck. A storm perhaps had carried them away. But again, no wreckage was ever found, no debris, no evidence of a vessel lost in the storm. Others began to suggest something more supernatural. The island was isolated, surrounded by the vast and unforgiving North Sea. What if the keepers had angered something on the island? Something ancient, something that had lived there long before the lighthouse was built. The locals had long whispered of strange occurrences on the island. Phantom lights, ghostly figures, strange sounds in the night. The theory of a curse began to take hold. Perhaps the men had disturbed something they should not have, angering the spirits that resided on the island. And in the dead of night, those spirits had claimed their lives. Some spoke of the eerie feeling that lingered on the island, the feeling that they were being watched, the feeling that something was out there, in the darkness, something that didn't want them there. Perhaps it was a warning, a sign that no man should challenge the forces of nature or the ancient spirits that called the Flannan Isles their home. Yet, despite the theories, there was no conclusive evidence. Theories came and went, but the truth never surfaced. No bodies were found. No signs of foul play. The lighthouse stood silent, its light never again shining in the same way. It became a place of legend, a place haunted by the lost keepers whose fates remain unknown. The families of the men, James Ducat, Thomas Marshall, and William MacArthur, were left with only unanswered questions. Their loved ones had vanished without a trace, and with no answers, they were forced to live with the uncertainty of what had happened to them. More than a century has passed since the disappearance of the Flannan Isles lighthouse keepers. Yet, their story still lingers, like a dark shadow over the island. It serves as a reminder that there are still mysteries in this world that we may never understand. What happened to the men of the lighthouse? Did they fall victim to nature's fury? Or did something far darker claim their lives? We may never know the full story, but perhaps it's better that way, for some mysteries are meant to remain unsolved, leaving us to wonder what might have really happened on that lonely island, and what still lurks in the depths of the North Sea. Now, we turn to you. What do you think happened to the men of the Flannan Isles? Was it a natural disaster, or something far more sinister? Leave your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more mysteries that will keep you questioning the unknown.